Hello Mathsers, how are you doing? I've been asked by a number of people to do some videos on fractions. In fact, I've been offered £1 million by a friend if I can teach her daughter improper fractions. It's a bit below my normal rate, but I thought I would take on the challenge anyway as a favour. I'm not going to look at improper fractions in this video. I want to build up an understanding of fractions over the course of a number of videos that will hopefully put us in good stead to tackle improper fractions. In this video, we're going to think really carefully about what a fraction is. I want you to develop a really clear and deep conceptual understanding of what we mean by a fraction. You're going to need some paper, ideally squares of paper. I've got square post-it notes here, or you can cut squares from A4 sheets of paper. You'll need a pencil, a ruler, and ideally squared paper as well, although that's not totally necessary. Let me show you how to cut squares of paper from a sheet of A4. I'm going to get two squares from this. I'm going to do it by folding it in half along here, and then folding again so that this side lies on top of this side. And then if I fold down, if I cut along here, and here. And I've got two squares. You could do with a few more than this. First, take a square of paper, fold it and shade it to show 1/4. If you find one way of doing that, then try to find a second different way of showing a quarter, and maybe even a third way. Pause the video here while you give that a go. If you've got somebody there at home working with you, then compare your fractions. Have you shown 1/4 in the same way or in a different way? Have you shown 1/4 correctly? Are you sure? How do you know? This is a way that I found of showing a quarter. Did you find the same one? I know this is a quarter because there are 4 equal parts and one of those parts is shaded, so 1/4 is shaded. Here are some other ways I found of showing 1/4. In each case, I know it's 1/4 because there are 4 equal parts and one of the parts is shaded, so 1/4 is shaded. I've got a new challenge for you now, and this is where I'm really going to make you think. Take another square of paper, fold and shade it again to show a quarter, but it's got to be in a brand new way. It can't be like any of the ways we've already seen. And if you find one new way of showing a quarter, can you find another new way and another way? Thinking about what a fraction is will really help you here. Now, just shading a different section, that doesn't count as a different way of showing 1/4. It's got to be in a brand new way, okay? Pause the video here while you think about that. Now, I'm sure I made you think. I'm sure also if you really thought about it carefully, if you persevered, you would have come up with new ways of showing a quarter. There's almost limitless ways of doing it. These are some that I found. Did you find any of these? How can you be sure that 1/4 is shaded? Well, there are 4 equal parts, and one of those parts is shaded, so 1/4 is shaded. I've got another challenge for you. The red section is 1/5 of the whole, true or false. Looking very carefully, thinking very carefully about what we mean by 1/5. And make sure when you're talking about your ideas, when you're justifying your answers, you use full, clear mathematical sentences like the one here. Pause the video, have a think, have a discussion. The first one, is that 1/5 of the whole? It's not, but why not? It's because there are 5 unequal parts, so it's not 1/5. The second one, yes. Why? Because there are 5 equal parts and one of those parts is shaded, so 1/5 is shaded. And the last one, no, because there are 6 equal parts and one of those parts is shaded, so 1/6 is shaded. What do you notice about these images? Again, pause, look, think carefully, and use full, clear sentences to justify your thinking. Let's go through them. The first one, is that 1/4? Yes, it is. Why? Because there are 4 equal parts and one of those parts is shaded. Next one, is that 1/5? No, it's not. Why not? Because there are 5 unequal parts. That's not 1/5. Next one, is that 1/3 of the whole? No, it's not. Why not? Well, there are 4 equal parts, and one of those parts is shaded, so 1/4 is shaded. Next one, is that 1/4 of the whole? No, it's not, because there are 4 unequal parts. Finally, is that 1/5 of the whole? Yes, it is. Why? There are 5 equal parts, and one of those parts is shaded. Well done if you got all of those right. Now, final challenge. It would be great if you had somebody there at home that you could do this with. But if not, I want you to try it anyway. I want you to do your version of what you've just seen me do. Let's think of it as an odd one out fractions challenge. I want you to draw 5 representations of 5 different fractions. Exactly one must be incorrect. A little bit like the examples you see on the screen there. How can you make it not totally obvious which the wrong one is? And make sure 4 are correct. And then when you're done, you can swap with somebody else if you can. Try to challenge maybe your parents, your carers, an older brother or sister. And when you're discussing these things, make sure you're using the full, clear mathematical sentence. There are equal parts, and of those parts is shaded. Now I'm going to show you how you might extend this, what the next steps might be. So far we've been looking at unit fractions, fractions where the numerator is 1. Now we could look at non-unit fractions, so the numerator must be greater than 1. For instance, you could get a square of paper, fold and shade it to show 3/5. Can you then show 3/5 another way, and another way? And how do you know that's 3/5? Using our mathematical sentence. What about these ones? Do the yellow parts show 3/5 of the whole? Look carefully, think carefully, pause if you need to. In this case, the answer is yes, 3/5 are shaded. Why? Well, there are 5 equal parts, and 3 of those parts are shaded yellow, so 3/5 are shaded. Now, what about this shape here? This one might not be so obvious, so think very, very carefully. Look very, very carefully. The answer again is yes. 3/5 are shaded. Now, why is this the case? To help you understand it, you might need to imagine rearranging the parts, like this. Now, I haven't shaded any more or any less than before. I've just moved the parts around. So the same amount, the same fraction is shaded. But now hopefully you can see that 3 out of the 5 equal parts are shaded, just like with the shape on the left. So 3/5 are shaded overall. And sometimes you might need to do that to help you understand a fraction, see a fraction more clearly. You might need to rearrange or imagine rearranging the parts. What about these fractions? Are they correct? Are they incorrect? How do you know? Have a careful look, have a careful think. Pause the video here because we'll go through them in a moment. Let's go through them. What about the first shape? Is that 3/5 shaded? Yes, it is. But why? Well, there are 5 equal parts, and 3 of those parts are shaded, so 3/5 are shaded. The second one, is that 1/2? It is. You might need to think about equivalent fractions here. 5 out of 10 equal parts are shaded. That's 5/10, which is the same as a half. 5 is half of 10. Or you could imagine these bars coming together, and then hopefully you can see that a half of the shape is shaded. The third one, is that 1/6 of the whole that is shaded? Yes, because there are 6 equal parts. One of those parts is shaded, so 1/6 is shaded. Next one, is that 1/5 of the whole shaded? No, it's not, because there are 5 unequal parts. And finally, is that 3/4 of the shape that's shaded? Yes, because there are 4 equal parts, and 3 of the parts are shaded, so 3/4 are shaded. And of course you can create an odd one out challenge like we had earlier, but including non-unit fractions. Exactly one must be incorrect. Perhaps you can set it to somebody else as a challenge. Can they find the incorrect one? Can they explain why that's wrong and the others are correct? So what have we learned today? Well, we were focusing on trying to understand what a fraction is. So, what is a fraction? How would you explain it to somebody else? We know a fraction is written like this. On the bottom we have the denominator. But what does the denominator represent? Think about all the work we were doing today. The denominator represents the number of equal parts that the whole has been split up into. And what about the numerator, the number on top? What does that represent? The numerator represents the number of those equal parts that we have, or that we're looking at. Another thing about the denominator is that it's the name of the fraction. Name. So it tells you what kind of fraction we're looking at. Here, the denominator is 3. So the name of these fractions are thirds. We're looking at thirds. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed exploring fractions and feel you've got a good understanding of what a fraction is, as well as, crucially, what a fraction is not. Tune in next time where we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting fractions. In the meantime, take care and happy mathsing!